Hey there, today we are doing an inner tie rod on a Mercedes Benz ml320. Alright, let's get started. I want to keep this short, so I'm going to make a separate video later explaining how to take wheels off and on. And how to jack up. So we're going to dive right into the part replacement. Once we got the wheel off, I'm going to crank the wheel to the right. Oh, this is on the driver's side, by the way. If I crank to the right, the back tie rod comes out. This is the part right here in this boot. Alright, let's start it. First thing I'm going to do is pop this clip out here. I'd be able to get it with a screwdriver, I think. Well, okay, if that doesn't work, I'm gonna use a pair of side cutters. Okay, side cutters wouldn't fit, so I'm gonna use these extremely long needle nose pliers, I think. Alright, I'm just gonna put my screwdriver in there and hit it with a hammer. Okay, screwdriver here. And smack. Not quite. There we go. These are not reusable. I'm going to replace it with a zip tie. See, this clamp goes together like that, and then you use a special tool that clamps on right here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the outer tie rod just so I can take it off and count my spins accurately. That looks like about a 21 millimeter. I was wrong, it's a 22. Excellent. Now, careful, the nut might be hot. I'm going to put it back on about a couple threads. Now this part you have to be pretty accurate with a hammer. I'm going to smack the spindle right here to release the grip. The alternative to this is a pickle fork, which completely destroys the boot. And you'll have to replace the outer tie rod. It's all about that right hit. Now, I'm still going to leave it in so I can undo this nut here, which looks like a 21. Don't quote me on that. Okay. Grabbing the 22 as well. Oh, it's a 22. Okay. Nice, gotta love Mercedes. So old and yet it still comes out. Keep an eye on your inner tie rod, make sure you're not rotating it as well, otherwise you'll have to grab a wrench, probably a 15 mil, to grab your inner tie rod to stop it from spinning. And I'm just working it back and forth so that it's easier to work with. Alright, so you can get your wrench on the inner tie rod right here. Just gonna grab my new one, just make sure it's the right one. Got the coned nut. Alright, that's close enough for me to proceed. I'll do a closer comparison before I install it. And I'm going to get my wrench. I think that's a 15 or 16. Being pretty stubborn, so I'm going to soak the living shit out of it with WD-40. There are better penetrating oils out there, but I'm going to let this sit for about 10 minutes, charge my camera a bit, and come back. And if it doesn't budge, then I'm going to put a torch on it and let it get as hot as possible. Prefer something hotter than what I've got. Oxyacetylene or propane and oxygen torch would be amazing in this situation, but unfortunately I'm just working in my garage. Okay, so I wasn't able to undo the inner tie rod, so what I'm gonna do is take the inner and the outer off together, and I'm gonna cut right here with my Sawzall so I can put a socket and a breaker bar on it. Alright, to get in a little bit of clearance, what I do is stick a screwdriver under here carefully, and then I'll take my other hand and spin it until it comes down and pull towards me, and that'll give me about another inch of clearance. And then you're gonna need a wrench like this. I think it needs to span about 35 millimeters. But anyways, take this boot, pull it back, and there's your nut.
Okay, I'm taking them both off in one piece, so I like to keep the nut with my tie rod. It's just a personal preference. Just here I'm putting the clamp back where it's supposed to be, and that allows me to cut more freely with the Sawzall. I'm going to cut as close to the slanted surface as possible so I can still get a socket on.
Okay, so I ended up cutting a slit in it, and then I grabbed the boot and I pressed it up against the edge of a table and put the slit against the edge of the table so I could spin the boot and force it off. Since I cut the piece up, it's kind of hard to compare the new one to the old. I'll be able to tell when I install it and go for a drive and the steering wheel's not straight. Play with it until the steering wheel's straight and let's say the alignment's good.
So during this step, it's very important to keep track of the exact amount of spins you do. The method I'm using here is a half spin by a half spin, just so I have better leverage. In the end, I get a count of 51, and I divide that by 2, so 25 and a half.
Okay, before you just screw it in and start counting your turns, you're gonna have to find the starting point. Put it in right where you feel the threads catch, right there. Okay, now I pull out on it and I slowly undo it. Oh, it pulls out there. Okay, so a reverse rotation about 1/8 of a turn, put it back in. Feel it catch the thread. Perfect. Now, I did 51 counts, but I only did half a turn every count. So divide that in half, it's 25 and a half. Do my half turn. Cool. Now I'm gonna put a wrench on it so I can keep track of where it is. And we're gonna count to 25. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take it back off because I forgot the boot. Let's take a tie rod. Here's the boot. Cool. There we go, right where it was. Scratch all that. Okay, so order of operation is sort of important for this. These threads are really hard to line up. So I'm going to take this, put it in right now. Alright, and you're going to want to get this pretty tight. I just smacked my wrench with a hammer. Better ways, but it works. Okay, now I'm going to take my boot. Don't put it on too far, make sure it's in the same spot. Okay, now you're going to need your clamp. Grab your favorite set of whatever pliers. Squeezer. Let go. There you go. I'm going to put my nut on. I'm going to put this on at least 25 spins. Let's say 27. I'm not gonna count. Not important. Alright, so that's all the way in. Now I'm gonna take my outer tie rod completely off. Same thing as last time. Find the starting point. Screw it on until you know it's on. It's not reverse thread, no. Okay, that's where it starts. Pull out on it to make sure it's actually engaging threads. Slowly undo it, and there it pops off. Okay, reverse. So now you know it starts there. I'm going to start with a half turn. It doesn't matter which way this is pointing. You can always rotate the inner tie rod to correct it. So that's at 1/2 now. I have to do 25 turns in. Since we have this, I can keep track of where I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, just a second.
Okay, no worries, man.
18, 19, 20, 21. Alright, I'll lose count if I walk away.
Okay.
22, 23. Okay, ready. Alright, the aftermarket nut is a little bit bigger than the stock one. Alright, so I'm going to try to tighten this, and I'm going to pay attention to see if anything starts spinning. Oh, I'll put the tie rod in the spindle. That should help. Just want to make sure that it's not messing up your adjustments here. Also, I'll show you a trick to tighten this nut with an impact. Otherwise, there's an Allen key in there, and you just put it through and just tighten the nut. You'll have to hold both the wrenches. Okay, let's tighten this jam nut up. I'm most likely going to have to undo it later so that I can make some fine adjustments to the steering. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, tight, on, not tight. Boot on there, make sure it's seated fully. You're gonna go grab some zip ties. Alright, so one zip tie is probably not big enough to get around, but I'll try. No, so what you're gonna do is take 2 zip ties, go like that. Make sure you got the right orientation or you're wasting a zip tie. Now, I'm gonna bring it down to about there. Snip. Holy. Alright, let's put this on. Before you get it lined up, I like to engage the zip tie a little bit. Make sure you got it exactly where the clamp was. Now I'm going to take a pair of side cutters. Right where I snipped the last one, I'm going to grab it lightly and twist. See, I got 2 clicks. Another click. Another click. Another click. There we go. That's a tight zip tie. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now if I put the impact on this right now, it's just going to spin the ball in the socket for the outer tie rod. So I'll take advantage of my jack here. I'm going to take a block of wood, put it under there to spread out the pressure. Pretty centered. This should give you enough friction. You don't want to jack it up so high that it's coming off the jack stand. I'm going to give that a shot right there. If you rotate it a little bit in its socket, that's okay. But don't go overboard. You don't want to wear it out. Great success. Now we'll release our jack. And since you never know how tight it is when you're using an impact, I'm going to take that socket, put it on my breaker bar, make sure it's the proper torque. Yeah, that's perfect. This style nut has a little rubber ring on it. They call this nut a nylock. It prevents it from coming loose. And that concludes the inner tie rod. That wasn't so hard. That was pretty crappy compared to like what it should be, but yeah, wasn't that bad.